what we're going to do is we're going to start off, we're going to look at browsing, then we are going to look at new content, we're going to look at some old favorites, then we're going to talk about searching. So to me, browsing is the best way. Okay, so let's go into my intranet. So the two main browsing tools, now that you might find that they're down on the business fitness content menu on the lower right here. I've used the menu manager to add mine to my top menu, and that's something your administrator can do. So you can see popular content, content hub. So we're going to go into popular content. Now this page was put together to help firms like yours find the most commonly used things without having to go all the way through the content hub. So here is where you'll find the most commonly used tools and processes, and to be completely honest, probably 80% of the time what you're looking for is going to be linked from here. So for example, the checklist builder procedure, the questionnaires procedures, the work papers. You'll also find the FBT and the GST sections, income tax, prov tax, tax debt, tax planning and tax pooling, which is the Tax Management New Zealand one. Then you've got the compliance stuff, ACC, the company admin suite, the trust admin suite, and the employer documentation kit. You've got a couple of commonly used FAQs. There's a link through the coaching program. There's your debtor management suite and trust account administration procedures, your new client suite, and you've also got your internal employment suite. You've got a link, quick link to Business Board and WILCO, and also a link through to the rates and thresholds table. So this is one of those pages that I would recommend that you get in the habit of using, because it's a really quick way to find that content that you need. So what else? Well, the other main way is to go in through the content hub. So let's just start from the top here though. So the FAQs, if you're not familiar with them, they cover off really commonly asked questions. So say for example, let me go into travel expenses. And then from travel expenses I can see that they're all arranged pretty much the same. There's a script to rattle off an answer for the client. More and more we're making these so that they're on screen, so they're really quick to use from iFirm. Some of them are still downloadable scripts. In fact, some of this you could probably copy and paste into an email to the client. There's also a report which you can zhuzh up and attach and send to a client as well, email it out. So the FAQs are all that sort of commonly asked questions, and it means that you don't have to go away, you don't have to look up the answer, compile it, fact check it, have it reviewed, all of that stuff. You can just use it out of here. The main thing to take away though is that it's a lot easier to find these if you're already familiar. So take a moment after the webinar to actually familiarise yourself with the subject areas in here, because that means the next time you have a query you're more likely to go, oh, I know where I can get that from. Work papers and calculators, as I said, not really going to go into it. You can see it's all of your various work papers and calculators on one page, easy. So the client is probably the area that has the most content in it, and what this is a life cycle of the services that you provide to your clients. In other words, it goes right from new clients through to client deletion or what to do when a client passes away. Now the main areas in here that firms use are new clients. So this is also attached to that popular content page, and this is everything from the initial screening the client, sending out the welcome pack, and then all the setup required after that. And you can see you've got all of your various resources for setting up new clients in here. It's one of those suites that sort of bridges both accounting and administration. You've got the financial statements suite in here as well, and financial statements links through to both the checklist builder, the questionnaires, and the work papers, and has videos on how to do the work papers. Now just a heads up, if you haven't heard already, there's going to be a bit of a change with the work papers this year. Hopefully Michelle's already called you and found out who your work paper champion is, but there will be, it'll be slightly differently done, and so once we've done the webinars this year, those will also be embedded within here. So we'll have, by the end of March, there'll be all new videos within this procedure, so you can keep an eye out there. But this is one of those procedures that's quite good to add to your favorites because it links to so many different things, much like new clients. Another one for the accounting team that you might like, accounting team members might like to add to favorites, is just the tax section all on its own. Because this is basically, it's a collection. You can see mine's already in my favorites because my add to favorites link isn't there. It's basically an overview of all of the tax related materials in here. And some of them might be really basic, like registering for a GST number. Some of them might be really complex, like sorting out a tax dispute with IRD. So there's a lot of stuff in here. And of course there's company and trust administration from the client services as well. So two more big suites, particularly company admin. And again, this is one of those ones that's got videos through for how to use it. And you can see things like formation setup, ongoing administration. A common question is, where do I find all my minutes and resolutions and things? They'll be connected to whatever the subject area is in ongoing administration. So if it's a change of a director, it's going to be part of the director's area. If it's something to do with shares, share transfer, it's going to be in the shares area. Okay, so let's go all the way back out to the top of the Content Hub. What else do you access from here? There's also the coaching library. So these are just the high-level resources for working with clients in that business development type sense, in a mentoring sense. So coaching library, you can see lots of guides and things like that. So very wordy documents for use with client business development. The other main area from here that will be of interest, particularly to admin team members, is the firm. So this is your own internal processes. So the major suites that you'll find in here are things like, again, new clients is linked from here. There's also your own debtor management suite. So this is your own internal debtors suite. So just things like debtor control, debtor receipting. And there is also your own HR suite within here, along with a host of other HR type related things. But if I go into employment process, this is your internal HR suite. So there's a lot of material in here as well. And we'll actually be touching on this when we come back to the looking at new content. Okay, so outside of the Content Hub, what else is there? There's also the knowledge base. Now I have quite a bit of stuff in my knowledge base, and you guys may too. So yours might differ quite significantly from me. But the main things that you'll see from here that we will all have, in fact, where have I put mine? I think they're still on my business fitness menu, is WILCO and Business Forward. So those are your newsletters. WILCO is your sort of tax and accounting newsletter. It's pretty date sensitive. That's the one that you rebadge and send out to your clients. Some of you might just poach articles, and obviously one just came out a couple of weeks ago, the autumn one. And then there is also the Business Forward, which is the more business development type general business topics newsletter. So you can access those, again, you can access those via that popular content, because they are just off that final firm library area, Business Forward, WILCO. There's also the rates and thresholds table, and this is part of your knowledge base as well, and you'll just find it in the main knowledge base folder. But what I'm going to do is make sure that you're all aware that this is here, because this is one of those things that it's just such a useful tool. It's just rates and thresholds for everything. So really, really useful. So that's part of that knowledge base, and you'll probably find that you've got lots of your own materials in here. You may have David Russell Farm Accounting Newsletters. That's a really common one. You might have IRD Agents Answers. You might have CCH Q&A resources in there. You might have webinar handouts, all sorts of things. So I can't really comment about exactly what's in your knowledge base, but some of the things that you have will be similar to mine. Okay, so let's talk about what's brand new. Now there is a really easy way to tell what's new at any given time. And on the, let me just go in here, my thingy's misbehaving at the moment. On the business fitness menu, you may not have added this to your main menu. There's this area called What's New. And for those of you who used to have the document manager, you'll find that What's New in here is far more accurate. The document manager one sort of depended on what you had it set to show, whereas this just keeps a running list of everything. So you can see the things that I've edited. This one up here, I've been mucking around with my work papers. And you can also see the things that Business Fitness has edited. So the last things that we edited were the 3rd of March, so just last week. Records Builder, Working Smarter, which is our little blurb. Recruitment, the employment process, client questionnaires. So you can, if you're waiting on something or you want a really quick snapshot of what's most recently been updated, you can come into What's New. But what is really cool is you can still edit, you can still filter this. So the section itself shows 30 items. So if I change that to 50, it shows me the 30 most recently altered or updated pieces of content. So this will include the things that you've edited yourselves, but I can restrict it down to spreadsheets. So if you're particularly waiting to see if a work paper or a calculator has been updated or when it was last updated, this is a really quick way to see. So say for example if we wanted to see if the Divi work papers had come out, we can see here Dividend Electronic Work Papers 2016 came out in October last year. So that's a really fast way to find out what the latest content is. Of course, if you go to the Business Fitness homepage, which might be your main homepage anyway, it will actually have what the latest content update is, and it will have the blurb for the newsletter. So even if you receive the newsletter, doesn't matter if you do or don't, this is the blurb that comes through in the monthly news or in the content update newsletter anyway. So you can actually see quickly what is in here. And sometimes it might link through to the procedure as well. So that's pretty handy. So let's have a look at the most recently updated, the major things. So of course, business fitness content, there's close to 2,000 things in there now, and we're constantly maintaining it. But every now and then we still do come up with new things that we need to add in. So the first one I'm going to show you, I'm going to go via the Content Hub, and I'm going to go into that tax section. So I go into the client, and then second column along under compliance is tax. So one of the things that just came out last week was advising changes to IRD in relation to GST. So in the GST section you'll see a new procedure up the top here. If I click in, it's all about letting IRD know when there's a change to GST arrangements with the client. And you can see you've got letters. You've got links to the Master Tax Guide online if you've got IntelliConnect, or you can look it up in the Master Tax Guide book at the paragraph reference, and you can see there's info sheets and things as well on how to use secure mail. What else has recently been updated? Well, I'm actually going to hark back to one that was last year because I think it's really important, and it's one of those ones that may have slipped under the radar a little. Again, I'm going back into the client, but there's actually this area here, financial reporting under compliance, and it's actually all about the financial statements reporting requirements. I think it's really important at this time of the year that you guys know that this is here. So there's decision trees and things, there's guides, and basically how it works is to find out, does the company have to use GAAP? I can come into the company reporting decision tree, and then I can work through my options. So once it loads, let's hope that those settings haven't just magically turned themselves back on. Right, so I can work through the questions here. Is the company large? Well, I think it's large, but let me click on the note and it takes me through. What is a large company? Well, this is exactly what a large company is. So maybe what I thought was large isn't actually large. So it just helps you make the decisions and make sure that you're using the right kind of reporting for your financial statements. Right, another recently changed one was the companies and limited partnership changes. So where would I find those? If I go through the Content Hub, we talked about companies and company admin before. So that for me is logically the place to start. I can go through the client or go through the popular content browser and into company administration. And directly on this page, I wouldn't call it procedure, on this overview page, if I scroll down a little bit, there's actually a note here about the changes that came in as of 1st of May last year. So basically, new requirements for companies, overview, procedure, and then just the main details of the ones that came in as of May last year. So it's important to know that that note is there. There's also a brand new procedure that came out this year, which is an administration one. It's to do with internal admin. So I'm going to go through into the firm section, and it's actually about client feedback. So it's just about getting feedback from clients, making sure that you're getting feedback regularly, and there's also information in here. How are you going to set it up? Whether you're going to set it up, I think there's some information in here whether you're going to set it up using SurveyMonkey. Yep, there it is there. Consider doing it online with SurveyMonkey, and what to do with the feedback that comes through. So basically it's to help your strategic planning. So it might be the kind of thing that you do late this year after you've done all your or the main body of your annual accounts, that you do later this year, and then you feed it into your strategic planning for next year. So you might want to run something like this in October, November, and then actually put it into your strategic planning in January next year. And the last new thing I want to show you is example position descriptions that came out recently that can be really handy. So again, they're part of this practice management type area. They're part of the employment process that I spoke about earlier. So the employment process, if I go into recruitment, there is a step in here that says draft a position description, use examples. And if I click into examples, it's actually quite a big little library. You know what I mean. Quite a big library of position descriptions for different positions. So for example, if I click into IT manager, and I can open up my sample position description, which I can then work into recruitment, into my ad for the position, creating the position description in the first place, and possibly using it with induction. So it's quite handy knowing that the stuff is in here. It also might help with advising clients. So you can see in here that it's got some information for if your clients come to you looking for position descriptions, what you can say to them. So the ones up here, they're for your internal use, and then further down it's just got some blurb about how to advise clients. Okay, so that's what's brand spanking. So let's talk about old favorites. So I'm going to go back to my Content Hub. Now, the reason I'm going through some of these old favorites is because they're really commonly used, and I want to make sure that everyone's on the same page and everyone knows where they are. So number one is in the queries section, entertainment expenses, really commonly used because there's always so much confusion, to the extent that there were a number of years there where we would have this, particularly this table that we've got here, we'd have this questioned by firms because people argued with whether it was accurate or not, because there's so much confusion around the IRD position on some of these things. So you can see we've got a simple table here which is really handy, and that's on top of the script and the report that go with those, with that FAQ. If I go via the Content Hub and into the client section, you'll actually see that outside of the new clients area there is also engagements, which is just a library of engagement resources including your new client and your existing client engagement letters. So I recommend that if you've got your own firm's engagement letters in here separately to Business Fitness, you actually extract them and overwrite these two so that you've only got your own firm's engagement letters. But there's quite a stack of resources there. And there's also the new entities area. Now this is also linked from the new client section, or these are linked from the new client section, but this is quite a nice little shortcut to them. So you can get into company formation, partnership formation, or trust formation from here. So let's jump into the firm section and have a look at another couple of the old favourites in here. I'm going to show you something that I get laughed at a lot for, and that's the contact procedure, because people find it really OTT, but I don't think in this day and age it's actually that over the top. It's just this best practice about how to greet clients when they walk into the business, just making sure that everything looks good, that you're saying the right things, that you're not referring to people as, you know, your 2 o'clock is here and things like that. But one of the things I used to get laughed at a lot is the old offer drink and refreshments using a menu. Now you might think, now firms who do this think it's totally normal and can't, you know, they're just like, yeah, so what, we do that. Firms who don't do this often think it's completely hysterical. But when you think about it, do you have a fancy coffee machine? I know that we do in our office, and I know that a lot of the firms I've been into have a fancy coffee machine, which means that it's easier to offer your client a list of the types of coffee that you can make out of your coffee machine than to stand there and say, would you like a coffee? We can do this, we can do that, we can do this, we can do that. Or a lot of people also don't drink tea and coffee, and a lot of firms have an extensive collection of herbal teas. I can pretty much guarantee you that in the Business Fitness office we have at least 20 different varieties of herbal tea that we have built up over the last couple of years, and it's extensive. So why not incorporate that stuff into a menu? Now you might ask, do we have a menu in the Business Fitness office? No, we don't, because nobody ever visits us, so it's not an issue. But for a lot of firms, it's quite a good idea. Just because it seems OTT, it's the kind of thing you don't really need much, just, you know, a laminated A5 or DLE card that sits on your reception that you can hand to people and say, hey, would you like a coffee? We've actually got quite a lot of different ones. Check it out and let me know which one you'd like. So although this contact procedure might seem OTT, it's actually an oldie but a goodie, and I really rate it. Now another one that's in here that you might want to know about, we talked about where WILCO and Business Forward were before, but the WILCO procedure itself actually has 3 webinars embedded into it. And WILCO can be one of those things that's done by one person, then they just don't have time anymore and somebody else needs to do it. So this means that the next person can come in, familiarise themselves with how to actually use it, particularly on step number 2 here, that how to prepare it. And you can hand it over to someone else. So it's good to know that these training videos are here. Also in the firm, but not really so much for the admin team, is actually the practice review preparation procedure. So if you've got a practice review coming up, there is the procedure for actually preparing for the practice review, which gives you a list of all the sort of the things that you need to have in line by reading through the guide. You just check it out, make sure you've got everything in place. But then it also links through to all of those different things, the quality control manual, the org chart, IRD filing percentages, the questionnaires and compilation reports, right through to trust account and maintaining client bank accounts. So if you do have a practice review coming up, it's particularly for partners, practice manager, making sure that you have all of these areas sorted out and that you actually know what you're doing in those areas. It's not enough to have a blank quality control manual. You need to customize it, maintain it, and of course follow it. Right, and what else have we got? The last thing that I wanted to talk about was actually just that rates and thresholds table, which we already had a quick look at, and that the fastest way to get to that was via popular content rates and thresholds. The only thing to watch out for when using that is it does have a best before date, because of course rates and dates change every year. So make sure that if you're printing it, laminating it, sticking it on your wall, that you're not still using the same one from 2013. And the very last thing we're going to look at is searching, because this is something that everyone struggles with. Now, my number one tip is don't bother searching unless you know what you're looking for. Don't just guess and take pot shots. I've seen people try and search by putting in a whole sentence like you might with Google. What that's looking for, how the search works, is it's looking for the keywords within the titles of the document in the exact order. So if you're typing in how to complete a GST return, it's not going to bring up anything. In that case, you would look up GST. And you can limit by the kind of content you're looking for. Or as I start typing, never hit backspace in a web browser without having something selected. It treats it as a shortcut for go back a page. Heads up on that one. Right, so when I click in the search box, it also gives tags. So one of the things that is in that searching quick guide on the handouts section of the control panel today is a guide to the tags that are used within business fitness and what they actually mean. So for example, if I wanted a procedure for how to do something with GST, I could look for a procedure. In this case, I actually know that GST is a really big suite, so I actually know that this would be a sub-procedure. How do I know this? Because it's something that I've learned over the years. And then I could search for GST. Now you might say, Rachel, that's unfair and that is a bad example, because how the hell would I know if something is a procedure or a sub-procedure? All I would recommend is actually just search. So start off by searching for procedures and GST and see what you get. It's a lot faster to do a general search and just scroll through than it is to sit there feeding in really specific search terms over and over and over and getting no results, which is something that I know you guys all find frustrating, and that's what you tear your hair out over, is because you're trying to guess what things are called, or you're typing in a whole term, whereas I recommend you actually keep it really loose and just scroll. So by looking for procedures that have the word GST in the title, you can see I came up with 16 results. I just changed my search parameters so everything's on screen. Maybe that wasn't what I was looking for, so I can go and do what I was doing before, which was looking for sub-procedures with the word GST in the title. And if I suddenly thought, actually, no, that's not what I'm looking for, I take out that GST, I'm actually looking for a spreadsheet, I can actually go search for spreadsheets with the word GST in the title. Or if I wanted to be really loose, I could actually look for anything with the word calc in it. So it'll do a partial word search, but then I can actually filter by the content type. So I can still say, hey, just show me spreadsheets afterwards. And this will bring up any spreadsheets that's got the word calculator in the title. Let it do its thing. There we go. So 21 of them. To be completely honest, if you could remember absolutely nothing about a tool other than the fact that it was a spreadsheet, you could search through all of the spreadsheets in your entire intranet. And to be completely honest, I mean, I've got 3 content suites, so I've got 110 spreadsheets. If you absolutely remember nothing else, it's faster to just go, hey, just show me all of the spreadsheets, and I'll just do a quick scan through by eye to see if the thing I'm looking for is there. It's way faster to do that than sit there trying to guess what the spreadsheet might have been called and hitting search and then getting frustrated. So my searching tip is actually keep it really loose for what you're looking for. Keep it really basic, and you're more likely to get what you're looking for, because being too specific with the search really means that it totally just returns nothing. So with those searches for the kind of content, you can look for text documents. It's like Word documents. Web pages, think procedures, and those online FAQ scripts, basically anything that's on screen. Spreadsheets, yeah, Excel documents, easy. PDF documents, that's self-explanatory, as is PowerPoints. There are even a few images in there, or other is any other sort of file type that doesn't fit one of those. Let me see if I've got any others in here. Oh, there you go. So some web links. Web links it treats as other. So that's really it for today. So my main tip for searching is know what you're looking for. Have an idea of what you're looking for, what it's called. If you don't know what it's called, don't bother taking pot shots and searching for it. Have a browse. It's probably linked from here, and just follow your nose through. So that's us done. So I feel a bit pointless arrowing all the way through to a thing that just says questions, but if anyone has any questions, now's the time to type them in. We've covered a lot in the last 35 minutes, so we've gone a few minutes over time, but hopefully it's given you guys a good idea of just how to tackle it. And I would actually recommend that you take your workbook, you take that searching quick guide. If you haven't downloaded it yet, now is the time. Grab it off the handout section of the side panel and take them actually back to your desk and have a play around, have a look through, particularly if you've got a few examples of things that you've been looking for. And of course, if you're having trouble finding anything in future, feel free to just email through to support@businessfitness.co.nz. If I don't know it well, Michelle Morgan, our content manager, she's got like an encyclopedic knowledge of what is in the content. So she'll be able to tell you pretty quickly if what you're looking for is there and what it's called and how to find it. So feel free to use us as a resource, or call the 0800 number, or of course just email support@businessfitness.